Hello and welcome to Who's the Bossk? It's a Star Wars podcast from laughingplace.com. My name is Mike Celestino. I am your host. I am the lead Southern California reporter and editorial director for Star Wars content at Laughing Place. This is episode number 221 of Who's the Bossk. It's also the 6th season premiere of the show. Yes, we're getting into the 6th season of Who's the Bossk. And this episode is going to be all about Star Wars Celebration 2025 coming up in just a couple weeks, like 2.5 weeks. This celebration starts. Very, very excited for that. We're going to be talking all about what we can expect, what you can expect if you're attending or if you're watching from home, paying attention to all the news coming out of Star Wars Celebration. And for that discussion, I have invited back on the show my friends and the co-hosts of the Heroes of the Halcyon podcasts, Kristine Smith and Martin Smith. Hey guys, how are you doing? Thank you for coming back on the show.
Fantastic. Happy to be
moons.
here. Rising moons to you.
Yes.
Very happy to have you back on the show. How's it been going? What's going on over there at Heroes of the Halcyon these days?
We've had some really great interviews lately.
It's astounding. We keep asking the Star Cruiser community and just the Galaxy's Edge communities come up with episode ideas, and they just don't stop. I mean, we're over 130 episodes and going strong. I think we've lasted longer than the experience that we started talking about.
We had Drew was on the show recently, I think, to talk about an episode of Skeleton Crew, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm not remembering that incorrectly, but glad to have you guys back on as well. Let's check in. By the way, we are recording this live on the Laughing Place YouTube channel, and if you would like to comment along or ask any questions, we'll be happy to address any concerns you may have. Fred Ramirez says greetings. Hello, Fred Ramirez. And then our old friend Patrick Radiker says good journey, everyone. Got a photo dump from David. He's already in Tokyo. Oh, wow. So somebody's already out there several weeks ahead. And Martin, that hair is wild. Yeah.
I'm never cutting it again.
So the other thing I kind of want to ask you guys about, we've kind of mentioned it on the show a couple times, but we haven't talked at any depth about Halcyon, which is the convention that you guys have organized and planned. You had the inaugural Halcyon event last year, and you're doing it again this year. This is a celebration of all things Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser. Tell me a little bit about that. How did that come about, and what can people expect from this second iteration coming up?
We actually got the idea for Halcyon quite literally the very day that Galactic Star Cruiser closed. At the muster meetup party we kind of threw for the community at the Planet Hollywood in Disney Springs, talking with DJ Elliott, a community-wide amazing DJ and great friend. And he just said, you guys should run a convention. And literally out of my mouth instantly with zero delay, I just said Halcyon, and he's like, run with it. And we ran over to Kristine and was like, here's what we're going to do. It's going to be called Halcyon. And and she's like, can we just get through this live event first?
It's Star Wars Celebration. They don't announce the next one until the closing ceremony at the end. So you can start planning for the next one, right? So you can't get too far ahead of yourself.
Ceremony and
But yeah, Halcyon 2 also sold out. This fan community is absolutely going strong. And again, we're celebrating not just Galactic Star Cruiser, but Galaxy's Edge and just immersive entertainment as a whole, because the field is huge. It's super growing and so many exciting things happening and coming out worldwide. We love talking about it. And really the key is just bigger and better. We've got an amazing new venue. The DoubleTree by Hilton at the entrance to Universal Orlando, October 16th or 18th. We wish you could buy a badge, but they are sold out. But
Well, everything I heard about the first HalcyCon was amazing. Unfortunately, I couldn't be there due to work stuff. I can't promise anything because of how busy my work schedule has been. But I would love to make it out to one of these at some point. Where can people now? It's sold out, unfortunately. But where can people go if they want to learn more about HalcyCon?
Well, you can always go to halcy-con.com, which is our main website, but we're also really active on Facebook and on Instagram.
Yeah.
We've got a big team that's helping us put it all together. And if you loved it last year, oh boy, we've got some great stuff planned for this year.
yeah, we do want to send a huge shout out to the entire events team, because we're just the people talking to you now, but there's literally a 10-person, 11-person technically team that really makes the magic happen. So thanks to everyone that supports what we do.
Yeah, so check out HalcyCon and the Heroes of the Halcyon podcast. Let's get into the 5 Star Wars questions. This is your, I think I did the math right, and it's your 3rd time as like featured guests on the show. Was I right about that? I hope so.
Yeah, you are right.
Okay, let's get into this. The 5 Star Wars questions, level 3. How are you guys feeling about these questions going into this?
I've got multiple answers for everyone, so I'm really curious to see which answer pops out.
All right. Number 1 of the 5 Star Wars questions, level 3. What is your favorite Star Wars book or comic book, and why? Let's start with Kristine on this one.
Okay. I am a notorious horrible reader. Reading makes me sleepy. So
Okay.
it's rough for me to get through a book. But
that's fair.
But what I did do is I did sign up for Audible, and I listened to The Princess and the Scoundrel. I absolutely loved it.
Oh, by Beth Revis.
Yes. We love Beth. We've met her several times. And the main pull, of course, is my love for Han and Leia. I think their dynamic is phenomenal. But it also just so happens they got on the Halcyon. And so I really was wanting to see how she had written that, knowing that she never stepped foot on the Halcyon.
Right.
And it was just a wonderful, wonderful story. I'm so glad that I listened to it.
I think in a weird way, probably the closest thing I've had to influencing Star Wars canon in any small way was Beth Revis telling me, you guys probably heard it on the interview that I did with her, that she was looking at my photo of me next to the inscription of Han Solo and Princess Leia's initials in the boiler room or the engine room when she wrote that scene that where he actually inscribes those initials. That was pretty mind-blowing. But yeah, that's a real fun book. So that's a great choice, and of course involves the Halcyon Galactic Star Cruiser. All right, what about you, Martin? Any what's your favorite book or comic in the Star Wars universe?
It's killing me to pick just one, but if push comes to shove, I gotta go with Heir to the Empire by Timothy Zahn from 1991 for the sole reason. Yes, it's an amazing series of books that the original Thrawn trilogy, but mostly for me, it's what brought Star Wars back from literally nothing. Right. Nothing. It's there. I mean, from 1987 when Star Tours opened to 1991 when this book came out, there was nothing. And that's
like the West End games is like role playing game. That was pretty much it, right?
That's a great recollection. But to just having something mainstream Star Wars come back, and I'm literally my one of my great friends at the time, and I literally met at his house the morning that was going to come out and raced each other to Paradise Valley Mall to go to the bookstore and buy that book day one because we were so excited that something Star Wars was back. You really cannot overstate how important that series of books was to just keeping Star Wars alive.
And it certainly like keeps reverberating. The introduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn especially has become very important in the current Star Wars canon. And then I do want to mention, since comic book was also an option, you can go and listen to a full episode of me and you guys and Drew talking about the Star Wars Galaxy's Edge and Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser comic books on Heroes of the Halcyon, which was a tremendous amount of fun. And like since then, I have had the chance to interview both the writer and the artist from those comics. So yeah, Ethan Sachs and Will Sliney, really, really cool, fun, talented guys. So go track down that episode and give that a listen. Number 2, if you could own a life-size working replica of any Star Wars vehicle, basically you get, a land speeder you could drive around in, whatever. Which vehicle would you choose? Hope I didn't ruin your answer with saying a land speeder, but let's go to Martin first on this one.
You totally ruined my answer because it is like.
Is it okay?
I wanted to say speeder bike, but I know that I would kill myself in no time flat. Honestly, just driving around in a land speeder, with Kristine would be like the coolest thing ever. Sign me up. I would pay anything.
And kids have that option because there's that little like Hot Wheels land speeder you can get, but sadly they don't make it in an adult size. How about you, Kristine? Which vehicle would you want to own?
I went with the Ghost, just
Nice.
because if Hera can pilot it, darn it, I can pilot it too. And it's the only ship that I think we've seen, and I could be wrong, but it actually shows like living quarters. Like, oh yeah,
Right.
they sleep on this ship because they're always on the go. Like, yeah, I love the Ghost.
I don't think we got to see the Millennium Falcon's like living quarters on screen until Solo, when they're like going through Lando's cape collection, remember? In his little like walk-in closet.
Yes.
Patrick is disappointed that you did not pick Lady H, because I think that was his choice though. So he's got the Halcyon.
Yeah.
Number 3, what is your favorite non-human sentient Star Wars alien species? So we're not talking about the creatures here, like the Womp Rats and the Tauntauns. I'm not going to name an example because I don't want to ruin an answer here, but the aliens that you can have a conversation with, be it in basic or another language, which is your favorite of those species?
We gotta do this.
We'll start with
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Twi'lek. Yeah.
I knew that would be.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that just because of Gaia, or
That's because of Captain Maleficent.
Kristine's character.
Yeah.
But also Gaia and any, really, we just love the Ryloth storyline in some of the animated series. It's just such a dramatic, compelling thing that we love the Twi'leks.
Great. Yeah, Twi'lek is a great one, introduced in Return of the Jedi. They've become very, very important in the lore and legacy of Star Wars over the decades. Number 4, what is your favorite piece of Star Wars music and why? And let's start with Kristine this time.
Okay, so I had to look up the actual title of it. It's called Forming Up Unto Stone We Are, and it's from Andor. And it's the music as the bands are starting to play for the funeral, and as they converge onto the court. It's just that, I mean, you knew something absolutely phenomenal was going to happen when that's how they started that scene. It's just breathtaking.
It's sort of like the New Orleans style funeral from Marva Andor.
Exactly.
Really like haunting scene, sent chill down my spine. Great choice there. And yeah, you can stream that on Spotify or wherever you stream music. I need an Andor vinyl record set like they did for Mandalorian. I really would love to have that out there if you're listening, Mondo Records or whoever. What about you, Martin? Favorite piece of Star Wars music?
I gotta go. Boy, this is going way back, but listening to my Star Wars soundtrack on 8-track back in the day, there was a specific track, Ben's Death and TIE Fighter Attack. And it's
spoilers.
And it's just the greatest piece of music. It just ramps up in such a really cool way. And I just remember just sitting in front of the 8-track, listening to that one over and over and over. Still hits me right in the feels. It's one of my favorites.
Is that the same track they would call Here They Come on some of the later soundtracks? Love it. Definitely a good one. And yeah, just calling it Ben's death, that reminds me of when the Phantom Menace soundtrack came out and everybody was like, Qui-Gon's funeral. Wait a minute.
I still can't believe that got through. I just can't.
All right, last of the 5 Star Wars questions, level 3. This is a good one of my favorites. If you could go back in time and be present for the filming of any Star Wars live action scene, which would it be? Which set would you want to be on while the scene was being filmed? Martin, kick this one off.
The Yavin throne room medal ceremony.
Oh yeah, all those bored British extras in the background.
Literally just cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
But there's nothing I wouldn't give to be able to clap during that scene.
Wonderful choice. How about you, Kristine?
I went back to Andor and to be in the crowd on Rick's Road whenever that for Marva's funeral. I can't imagine the tension, even though they're actors, but the tension had to have been palpable. It had to have been. And I want to make sure that I'm there for the guy that kicks over B2 because I'm going to help beat him for putting his hands on B2. Ridiculous.
Have you guys watched the Tony Gilroy did a little like Q&A probably 2 or 3 weeks ago, maybe in preparation for season 2. He did kind of a look back at season 1. Have you checked that out? It's on YouTube, I think.
I was fearful that he was going to talk about season 2, and I'm trying to.
Okay,
we are literally going zero anything.
That's fair. And yeah, after season 2 is over, you can go back and watch this because he does talk about that scene in particular. Because I think a fan question came in that was like, what is your particular favorite moment or scene or episode of Andor? And he talked about how that scene represented not only all the characters coming together to fight the Empire, but also everyone behind the scenes, like every department that was working on Andor coming together behind the scenes. So it's kind of this culmination of both in front of and behind the camera to bring that show to life. And yeah, that really meant a lot to me hearing that from him. So great, wonderful choices all around. Thank you for participating in the 5 Star Wars questions. Patrick thought that was a fantastic question, and he hopes to earn it sometimes. Yeah, of course, Patrick, you're going to be back on the show. Just tell me when. I'm always looking for guests, so we'll have you back on. Stan Solo says he still has his Star Wars 8-track and a player. So now I remember holding and playing 8-tracks when I was a kid because family members would have them. But do you think if you got a hold of an 8-track, it would still work? Like it hasn't degraded? Do they still function properly, do you think?
I bet again, if it's something that's been sitting in the sun at a flea market for decades, probably not. But if you found something in a box in an attic, probably so.
Right. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, take care of your physical media. All right, here's something I want to go to now, just as kind of a slight detour here, because in addition to all this crazy stuff that's happening in Star Wars right now, we're waiting on season 2 of Andor. We've got Star Wars Celebration coming up in just a couple weeks, but also at the Disneyland Resort here in Southern California, it's Season of the Force, and that started this past weekend. I was invited down as a representative of Laughing Place with my friend Eric Goldman, who is a new guy at Laughing Place. He's been on the show. And we went down to the media event for Season of the Force. And I got to do a couple interviews with people who put this all together. I'm going to play 2 of them right now. And now, if you're watching this live on the broadcast on the Laughing Place YouTube channel, you're not going to hear these. You gotta tune in later when I put up the audio version of this show, and you'll hear the first one is an interview that I did with Michael Cerna from Walt Disney Imagineering. He's in the live entertainment department at Imagineering. And then Matt Martin, you all know Matt Martin from Lucasfilm Story Group, was deeply involved with the Galactic Star Cruiser, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, because I interviewed him at the media event for that as well. Anyway, these 2 guys are talking about the new projection show called Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker saga, which kind of blew me away. We have a video of this show at the Laughing Place YouTube channel, or you could go down and check it out. It's nightly, plays nightly in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge against the spires behind the Millennium Falcon there. Here's my interview with Michael Cerna from Imagineering and Matt Martin from Lucasfilm, all about Shadows of Memory, a Skywalker saga. And that was my interview with Michael Cerna and Matt Martin about the new projection show at Disneyland for Season of the Force. Do you guys have any plans to come and check this out here in Southern California?
We're always up to go to Galaxy. Give us a reason, man.
Great. Yeah, I highly recommend watching this projection show. And if you can't get to the parks to see it, definitely go and watch it on the Laughing Place YouTube channel. The other interview that I want to play was kind of a big surprise for me when I went to this media event. Well, as we were waiting to be let into the kind of backstage area where they held they had all the displays, they had all the food for Season of the Force, they had the merchandise, and then at one table, as we were waiting to go in, we saw all the High Republic authors going in, and then they had their like own table and they were available for interviews. And I was like, what does this have to do with Disneyland and Season of the Force? And I thought about it for a minute and I was like, oh, it's the department, the subdivision at Disney is called Disney Parks Experiences and Products now. And the book publishing side of that is part of it's underneath the products umbrella. So there's some synergy going on here. They're marketing the High Republic to people who may like, immersive Star Wars storytelling. And I think, those two things go together really well. So here's the interview that I did with High Republic authors Claudia Gray, Alyssa Wong, Charles Soule, Kevin Scott, Zoraida Cordova, and George Mann. These are some of my favorite authors working in Star Wars right now. And I was thrilled to be able to speak with them briefly at the Season of the Force media event. Here we go. And that was my interview with the High Republic authors at the Star Wars Season of the Force media event at Disneyland. Go check out the High Republic. Like I said in the interview, it's wrapping up. It's coming to a close, at least in its current form this summer. I know they've hinted at more maybe coming along down the line. Have you dove into the swimming pool that is the High Republic yet?
We are, our toes are in the pool.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've been scared.
We love what we've read, what we see.
Yes.
Just the visual aesthetic of it is amazing.
Yeah.
So we love a lot of the characters, and the acolyte kind of went into that zone.
Yeah.
So we loved it.
Yeah, the acolyte definitely like overlaps a little bit with the High Republic. Takes place, I think, a century afterward, but a couple of the characters are still like Vernestra Rwoh is a featured character in the High Republic, and she survives because she's like a longer lived species. Great stuff. I recommend checking it out. Anyway, let's move on. I did want to mention Season of the Force is now through Sunday, May 11th at Disneyland Resort. They've also got Luke Skywalker right now, first time ever appearing in Galaxy's Edge. We know Nick Tierce's thoughts on this, guys, but how do you feel about characters who are not maybe not in the exact timeline or don't fit in between episodes 8 and 9 of the Star Wars saga, and they've kind of they've managed to squeeze them in there at Galaxy's Edge? What are your thoughts on this?
I'm going to let Kristine take that one. We've lost that battle. But we agree with Nick. But at the same time, when you see a kid run up to some of these characters, all of the arguments for keeping timeline purity, they seem to kind of take a step back. I am shocked. I am absolutely floored that it's maintained this level of purity as long as it has, and I'm extremely grateful for that. So if they got to kind of bend the rules a little bit, it's not our first choice,
right?
But hey, a lot of folks love it, and there's every Star Wars is someone's favorite Star Wars.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Okay. There's also a Death Star popcorn bucket that I got, and a coaxium. Oh, now every time I hear the word coaxium, I think of Gaia and the Galactic Star Cruiser, of course. But there's a coaxium sipper, all sorts of cool stuff happening at Season of the Force now through May 11th at Disneyland. Patrick says he's gonna miss it unless they extend it by a week or two. They're going in June. Yeah, so this ends at the beginning of May as of right now. And Solo Show says I should grow out my hair like Martin. Keep harping on the hair.
Good luck.
Okay.
I'm just gonna put it out there right now, Mike, that if
Go ahead.
anybody is looking for, I don't know, a birthday gift or a Christmas gift for Kristine, that coaxium zipper, I need that in my life. I need.
Here's the crazy thing about that. I got there probably 10 a.m., 9 or 10 a.m. on Friday, first day of Season of the Force. And I'm going through, my part of my job is I go through and take photos and video of everything that I can, all the new stuff at Disneyland. And one of the things on my list was to get that coaxium sipper. But by the time I got around to that, around like noon or 12:30, it was already sold out. And I couldn't get a photo of it, which I was like, oh wow, I wasn't expecting that. Thought they would have plenty. And fortunately, I was very lucky, as I am a lot of the time. They gave me one at the media event. Like it was just in our like goodie bag. So I do have one, but yeah, if I do see them again, I'll be happy to grab one for you so that we can make that happen for you guys. Solo wants to know when the remote mouse droid is expected to come out. Yeah. By the way, in addition to those two interviews that I just played you, I interviewed the team behind the food and the merchandise and the upcoming Disneyland After Dark Star Wars night. Those videos are all available to view on the Laughing Place YouTube channel. We talked about the remote control mouse droid. I believe it's 1-to-1 scale this time, which is incredible. Previously they've had a remote control mouse droid that was tiny, and I have that one, but you got to have the real deal, at least as close as you can get. They didn't give us a price, and I think the rumor is right now that's going to be a May the 4th thing. So
makes sense.
If you happen to be at Disneyland on May the 4th, I believe that is when that is going to come out. Okay. Let's get into some Star Wars headlines. And I texted you guys last night and I was like, we're going to have a lot to talk about, so bear with me. You guys are cool for the long haul, right?
It's Star Wars. We're here for it, Mike. Here for it.
We're already talking about this, whether or not we're
all right. Here's the thing. Here's what happened. We're getting into Star Wars headlines. My last episode, the previous episode of Who's the Boss, was in late February. The day that I published that episode, there was this interview that came out with Kathleen Kennedy addressing and kind of setting the record straight on this rumor. It wasn't, I considered it more than a rumor because it came out through some legitimate Hollywood trade publications. That's the only reason I even mentioned it on the show. But we did get a kind of a follow-up from Kathleen Kennedy. And I'm just going to read, I just want to read the quote here, just so we know exactly what she said. Here's Kathleen Kennedy talking to Deadline. The truth is, and I want to say loud and clear, I am not retiring. I will never retire from movies. I will die making movies. That is the first thing that's important to say. I'm not retiring. What's happening at Lucasfilm is I have been talking for quite some time with both Bob and Alan about what eventual succession might look like. We have an amazing bench of people here, and we have every intention of making an announcement months or a year down the road. We are in lockstep as to what that's going to be. And I am continuing. I'm producing the Mandalorian movie right now. I'm also producing Sean Levy's movie, which is after that. So I'm continuing to stay at Lucasfilm and looking very thoughtfully with Bob and Alan as to who's stepping in. So that is all underway, and we have every right to make that announcement when we want to make it. Now, the two things I took from this quote from Deadline's interview with Kathleen Kennedy is she says she's not retiring, but she doesn't deny that she's thinking about stepping down. In fact, at the end of the interview, they ask her again, like kind of point blank, will you step out as Lucasfilm's boss this year? And Kathleen Kennedy responds, we really don't know at this stage. There's so much going on. I don't know. And they ask, when it happens, who will make that decision? And Kathleen Kennedy says, me, it's my decision. This is 100% my decision. So I think the conversation is happening. Like she says, they're trying to find a successor, and that announcement may come within the next year. But even if they announce a successor for the president of Lucasfilm, she wants to keep making movies and she's not going to retire. That's as far as I understand what this all means. Do you guys have any thoughts on this whole debacle?
I'm glad she said it straight. I mean, myself, I don't have the the hate or rage or whatever for Kathleen Kennedy that some people do. I don't like everything that comes out that's Star Wars, nor do I need to. But I think she's done a great job. So I'm fully in support of her as long as she wants to stay and as long as she's fully engaged to stay. The minute she wants to go do something else, we'll wish her well.
Absolutely. Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. And like she said in there, I think they have the right to make the announcement when they want to make it. I know that I'm in the entertainment industry, entertainment news industry, I should say. So I understand where the bread is buttered, or where your paycheck is coming from breaking this news. That's not really the kind of news that we do at Laughing Place, but I get that they want to have the breaking story, at Deadline or wherever this news is coming out. Some of the industry trade, I think it was Puck, I think was the name of the publication, that it was like former Hollywood Reporter. This is all like inside Hollywood stuff that probably doesn't matter to the average Star Wars fan, but I get it. At the same time, let Lucasfilm do what they want to do and leave Kathleen Kennedy alone. People like Brittany. The Solo Show said the same thing happened to Patrick and I. Okay, right after they recorded, she did the interview. It was bad timing, but I just wanted to, like she did, I wanted to set the record straight there, just so we have it on record here as having talked about it. Speaking of executives at Lucasfilm, George Lucas, the maker, the creator of Star Wars, will be appearing at the Turner Classic Film Festival. It's just a few weeks from now. It's like April 24th or something. It's the 45th anniversary screening of The Empire Strikes Back. I noticed in the announcement for this, they didn't clarify whether he will be like doing a Q&A or an introduction, or if he'll just be there waving or what. The other funny thing about this is I looked into it a little bit more, and you can't get into this. There's no way to get into this opening night gala unless you have a spotlight pass or an essential pass for the TCM Classic Film Festival, and those sell for $2,600 and $1,200 respectively. So a little out of my price range, but it sounds like a good time. I always enjoy seeing The Empire Strikes Back on the big screen. Is this something that you guys would think about attending or want to attend?
Not at that price.
Yeah, I was going to say want to. Yes.
Yeah.
That's Kenner and Hasbro money right there.
Right. Exactly. But yeah, hopefully, I don't know, if he does do a Q&A, it would be cool if they released a video of that maybe on YouTube. That would be really neat to see. But yeah, that's happening in Hollywood here in just a few weeks. Also coming out of Lucasfilm, we got the surprise announcement. This is within the last few weeks since I've done an episode. They announced Light and Magic, the documentary series on Disney Plus, is coming back for a second season. And this season 2 will only be 3 episodes long. And it's going to be directed by Joe Johnston, the filmmaker who used to work at ILM. I know he designed the Boba Fett armor initially. So we have that whole world of Mandalorians. We have Joe Johnston to thank for that whole costume design. And he's also directed many films over the years, like Jumanji and Captain America, the First Avenger, The Rocketeer. Anyway, he's going to be directing 3 episodes of The Light and Magic. That's coming out April 18th. And I suppose it's going to follow more recent events in the story of Industrial Light and Magic, Lucasfilm's kind of in-house visual effects department. Did you guys see that first season? If so, what did you think? And are you looking forward to more?
Oh yeah, we definitely, that was like appointment TV.
Day one,
the day it dropped, we were there. So yeah, super excited about more episodes.
And to hear that Joe Johnston is doing season 2, that's what a bonus. So yeah, that's appointment TV.
I think I've mentioned this on the show before, but my favorite part of that docuseries was getting to see the way they did the collapsing house from Poltergeist, uh, where it's kind of like laying on on its back, and they had like a giant super powered vacuum underneath it, and just like sucked it like instantaneously all into that vacuum, and they had the film going at super high speed so they could play it in slow motion. That was so neat to see. I hadn't seen that footage before. So very much looking forward to this second season of Light and Magic. And they'll be doing a panel, which we'll mention coming up. They'll be doing a panel about that at Star Wars Celebration. From Lucasfilm, ILM Immersive, which used to be called ILM X Lab, right? I think I'm getting that right. We've got a new mixed reality experience called Beyond Victory, a mixed reality playset coming to MetaQuest. This is a VR kind of thing, and it's all about pod racing. Okay, it stars Sebulba. Believe it or not, Sebulba is heavily featured in this, and I think you're going to be doing some pod racing. I've done some of the Star Wars VR things like Vader Immortal, and they did. You guys know about Tales from the Galaxy's Edge. Very fun. Unfortunately, I have an issue with some motion sickness when it comes to virtual reality. I can't play it for more than like 15-20 minutes. So I had to put it on my wife's head, and we cast it to the TV, and that's how we played through most of Tales from Galaxy's Edge. Are you guys into this VR at all? Are you looking forward to this Beyond Victory?
It looks, I mean, the idea of it sounds fantastic, but I'm with you, Mike. It would take minutes in that pod racer, and I'd be like, we're done.
All you have to do is say from the team that brought you Tales from Galaxy's Edge, and money on table. That one was such a grand slam for me. Love it. I can't wait.
I mean, I'm sure it's going to be fun. Much like the previous entry in the headlines, you will be able to preview this at Star Wars Celebration. I think they're going to have a little station set up where you can check out Beyond Victory, a mixed reality playset from ILM Immersive. So speaking of video game type experiences, I should have put this next. Sorry, I'm like reorganizing my bullet points in my head. Star Wars Hunters is a free-to-play video game that you can get. I know it's on Switch, it's on your mobile devices. It came out like a year ago, and now it's ending already. I guess it wasn't terribly successful. I know I heard mixed reviews about this. This is something that I have not had a chance to check out. It's just not the type of thing that I usually play. I don't like multiplayer video games like online, because I don't like having to interact with strangers, I guess, is my problem. Is this something that you have have you guys played Star Wars Hunters at all?
I did download it because I do have a Switch. Okay. So I did kind of fuss around in the world a bit, but yeah, it's not my jam.
Yeah. I'm with you. I'm a single player video game kind of guy. So not my jam, but again, we saw it a huge floor display at what was that, San Diego Comic-Con?
Probably
year before last, I believe that was, and looked fun if that's the kind of genre you like.
You know what I really liked about the stuff that I saw from this game was the character design, because they were very creative in coming up with some of the unique characters you could play as. Like one of them was a stack of 2 Jawas, which is like super fun. And then one was a droid who thought he was a Jedi. This is like, oh, this is really clever. Like there were outside the box choices for some of those characters. But yeah, unfortunately that game's going to be ending this fall. Fortunately, this month in April, they are going to be releasing a final update with one new character. And I guess you can play with those updates until the game comes to an end in the fall. Let's see. Michael, you guys know Michael Farnham? Rising Moons shared this with my Star Cruiser Facebook group. And the Solo Show said that they love the Star Wars VR used to have at Walt Disney World. Oh, I think he means the Void.
Yes.
Secrets of the Empire.
Yeah, that was a good one. I did that a couple times. That was really a lot of fun. I do miss the Void as well. let's go back to the parks. That's a good segue. So we got a date for the new mission. This is up your alley, guys. The new mission coming to Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, starring the Mandalorian and Grogu, is coming May 22nd, 2026. That just happens to be right around the time that the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is coming out. So there's some more synergy.
Mhm.
Now, this is getting things all kind of crazy mixed up because the Mandalorian and Grogu also do not exist, as far as we know, during the time period where Galaxy's Edge is set at the moment. Any thoughts on this new mission coming to Smuggler's Run?
Again, it's
Okay,
like
you want me to take
what?
this one? Okay.
Ooh.
The honest, short, succinct answer is it's a bit bittersweet for us.
Yeah.
Simply because the original iteration of Smuggler's Run that's been there since day one, that's there right now, really did heavily feature in the Galactic Star Cruiser experience. What
Right.
happened on that ride really did impact
Yes.
the overall Galactic Star Cruiser story.
Coaxium,
So to see that kind
coaxium.
of, yeah,
Exactly.
this guy gets it. So to see that kind of get set aside for some Star Wars newness, it's a bit bittersweet for us. But again, like Walt Disney said, Disneyland is never finished. Neither is Galaxy's Edge. So I'm going to wait and see how it's implemented. I mean, it seems like some real timeline weirdness, but
Yeah.
Maybe they're just going to do some hand waving and go, they're there now. And it might be amazing.
But
I did
can
make.
see-
Go ahead, Christine.
Oh,
I'm
I was
sorry.
gonna say, if it affects Hondo and Hondo's
Ooh.
presence at all,
Ooh.
I'm gonna riot.
Ooh.
I'm
Hey,
just saying.
Hondo is eternal. Hondo has lived through the Clone Wars, through Rebels, through the original trilogy era. So there's no reason that he can't stick around, right?
Don't mess with perfection.
I did make a bold prediction. I wrote kind of an op-ed on laughingplace.com. My prediction is that Galaxy's Edge and Batuu in general will shift in timelines toward the Mandalorian era, the New Republic era of the Star Wars timeline, at the same time that we get this new mission on Smuggler's Run. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. If that does happen, I imagine they will probably announce it at Star Wars Celebration during the Disney Experiences panel that's coming up. Michael Farnham says they're slowly breaking the timeline. That's very true.
The question I have with that is, instantly, I really like that idea, but what about Rise the Resistance?
Right. That is the big problem.
And that's got Ren. So
you just put a Darth Vader helmet on Kylo Ren. We're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's not alive in the New Republic era either.
We'll see how it's implemented.
This past, we'll keep an open mind, cautious optimism. This past weekend, I got to go to WonderCon right here in Southern California, down at the Anaheim Convention Center, and I saw a really fun panel. So I've seen a lot of comic convention panels in my day, and this might be one of the most fun that I've ever seen. It had two of the kids from Star Wars Skeleton Crew, namely Ravi Cabot Conyers, who played Wim, and Robert Timothy Smith, who was, of course, Neil, appeared together. And they're just so energetic and funny, and they really seem like they became like best friends during the production of the show, which is like, oh, you want those guys to be best friends in real life. There were two really fun moments that I took video of, and I put them on the Laughing Place YouTube channel. You can go and watch them. One was they were presented with the walkie-talkie props from the show, like they get to keep them now, and they reenacted like the conversation where they're coming up with their code names, Jedi 1 and Jedi 2, and then they played a game where it was like who knows their best friend better. It was kind of like a match game type thing, and it ended in a tie, and they settled the tie by having a lightsaber duel, which was again basically like them reenacting the play lightsaber duel that they had in the first episode of that show. So you can go and watch that video on the Laughing Place YouTube channel. What did you guys think of Skeleton Crew?
Loved it.
Loved it.
Loved it.
Yeah, unsure what we were walking into when it's basically an all kids cast.
Yeah.
And we're both at the age where we just miss the hype for Goonies. So,
Okay.
as they were talking about it being kind of Goonie-esque, we were like, "Oh, I don't know if that's gonna be something we're gonna dig." And we really liked it.
Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, I am the right age for Goonies, so it was like targeted at me directly. But yeah, definitely love me some Skeleton Crew. Solo show says they're gonna have to change the dish to round on the Falcon if it shifts timelines. Yes,
Oh.
and you have the TIE Echelon First Order ship that would have to be manipulated in some way. So yeah, it might be unfeasible, but we'll see. Let's get into comic book news. We had some new comics last week. The High Republic, Fear of the Jedi #2 by Kevin Scott, and The Rise of Skywalker #2 by Jody Hauser, I think, is writing that with Will Sliney doing the art. Really enjoying both of these comics. I usually don't care about the adaptations so much, but they're taking some liberties. They're adding a little bit. You get to see some of the characters like inner monologue, and they have little scenes that you didn't get to see in the movie. So I recommend both of those. And then we got an announcement of a new Star Wars comic book called Dr. Aphra, Chaos Agent. Dr. Aphra has had 2 previous volumes of her own comic book in the past from Marvel, and now this would be volume 3, but the subtitle is Chaos Agent, and I think the first arc sees her teaming up with Luke Skywalker, who she has butted heads with a few times in the current canon. That's coming out in June. I forget, where are you guys at with the comics? Is this something that you ever check out?
Oh, Dr. Aphra, boy, I got to tell you, I don't think there's any character I want to see in live action as much as we want to see Dr. Aphra. That would be
Oh yeah.
sensational. We're there for it.
All right. Yeah, me too. No, I can't wait to have more Dr. Aphra. And this is, of course, going to be set during the New Republic era because that's where they're getting to in the comics. They did the Battle of Jakku. Now they're moving. We get the main line, the flagship Star Wars titles coming back next month in the New Republic era, and then we'll get more adventures with Dr. Aphra coming in June. Hasbro, let's talk about toys. Okay. Hasbro did another one of these fan streams recently. I think it was a week or two ago, where they reveal a bunch of new Star Wars action figures coming to the Black Series and the Vintage Collection. I always look forward to the one that's right before Star Wars Celebration, the Hasbro fan stream that's like a few weeks before Celebration, because I know it's always going to be the ones they wanted to announce at Celebration but didn't have room for on their panel.
Right.
So it's kind of like the spillover Celebration announcements. So for the Vintage Collection, that's the 3 3/4 inch scale. We've got Dengar is coming back. You've got the new Luke's Land Speeder, which we talked about earlier. You've got Asajj Ventress. You've got Agent Kallus from Star Wars Rebels. And this was the big, really fun moment. They brought in actor Paul Sun-Hyung Lee from The Mandalorian and all those shows to reveal his Carson Teva Vintage Collection action figure. I know when they brought him on the live stream, you could see his Star Wars collection behind him in his home, and it looked like both you and me guys. Like, he's one of us, and he
Yeah.
wanted to have his own Star Wars action figure, and now he's getting it. I pre-ordered it already, and I think you can go and still go and do that at HasbroPulse.com. And then for the Black Series, we're getting the Night Trooper from Ahsoka, but this is the Death Trooper version of the Night Trooper. So the undead Death Trooper from Ahsoka looks awesome. Ezra Bridger as he appeared on Peridia from Ahsoka. And then they finally showed off from Skeleton Crew SM-33, the pirate droid.
Yes.
I spent some money that day on pre-orders. How about any of this stuff jump out at you guys? Any of these that you would like to have in your collection?
Would like.
Or have already pre-ordered?
We are easy prey, man. We are
Yeah.
easy prey.
Yeah.
Everything on the Vintage Collection. I mean, the Vintage Collection is my jam. Kristine is Black
Okay.
Series.
Okay.
So they kind of get us no matter which way they go.
Yeah.
And Solo Show says Carson figures already sold out in Canada, unfortunately. I don't know if it's sold out here in the States yet, but I'm glad that I got my pre-order in for that. Revenge of the Sith, not the 5th anniversary. The 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith. It feels like 5 years, but it's actually 20. That's coming to theaters very soon. And at Regal Theaters, you can get a Darth Vader popcorn bucket and sipper. I saw the photos. We have the photos at laughingplace.com. Those look pretty cool. Are you guys going to go see Revenge of the Sith on the big screen later on this month?
For sure.
Yeah, when they re-released episode 1 a while back, we checked that out, and amazing. Right. You can't get enough Star Wars on the big screen.
Yeah, what a great opportunity to go. I'll probably go to the El Capitan Theater here in Hollywood and watch Revenge of the Sith. Very excited to see that on the big screen again. All right, lastly, in Star Wars headlines, before we get into Star Wars Celebration, May the 4th is coming up. It's like a month away and a few days. We had news of new apparel coming from the Disney store in celebration of May the 4th, Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you. And you can look at all of that stuff at laughingplace.com. A whole bunch of new fun Star Wars apparel in celebration of May the 4th for this year. And I think it's available now. If not, it's going to be available very soon. Okay, I told you it was a lot of Star Wars headlines to get through. And now we're at the 51-minute mark. And we're getting into our main topic for this episode of Who's the Bossk? And that is Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025. I was in the room at the last Star Wars Celebration in London. At the closing ceremony is when they announce where and when the next celebration will be. And they announced April 2025, Japan. And I got a text from my boss going, "Oh no, I have to send you to Japan." So again, I mark myself as very fortunate. I consider myself very lucky to be going for work to Star Wars Celebration Japan. Have you guys, first of all, what is your experience with Star Wars Celebration? How many have you been to before? And have you been to Japan before?
Been to Star Wars Celebration Anaheim a couple of years, the one before London, and amazing, mind-blowing. Yeah. Everyone caught COVID. Every single person.
It's awful. It was like one of those first events after we're all like
worth it,
free in the world, and
amazing. We literally, if you're a Star Wars fan, there's no equivalent. I mean, this is going to be our 22nd year going to San Diego Comic-Con. That's kind of our major con that we go to every single year. But
wait, so 20, does that mean 2023 was your first one?
We didn't go. It's not our consecutive one. We
2003. I mean, I'm getting the math all mixed up. Yeah,
our first one was 1997, I believe. Then we missed a couple years, and we were kind of spotty. But I think we've been consistent for the past 18 years. Like we haven't missed one. But we love conventions.
I was gonna say 2003 was my first one, which was 22 years ago, and I also skipped some in between, just like 3 or 4 in between. But I've been going pretty consistently since then. So I'm probably about at the same total, roughly around the same total number of San Diego Comic Cons to you. But what number celebration is this for you? Sorry, 3,
2. We've only been to Anaheim.
All right. And then Japan. Have you been to Japan before?
Never. Always on our list. It took Star Wars to get us there.
Yeah, exactly. Just like Solo Show. By the way, do we know Solo Show's name so I don't have to keep calling him that? Do we know this person's name? He can say it in the chat if he wants. At London, I turned to my friends and I said, "I guess we're going to Japan." I'll see you there. Solo Show, come and say hi. Yeah, would love to meet you. Michael Farnham said he never saw it in the big screen, meaning Revenge of the Sith in 2005. And Stan Solo, we're going to call you Stan.
Perfect.
And Tough Luck said, "Oh, we'll get into this in a minute. This is the Mando and Grogu stuff." All right. Japan. I've never been before either. Very excited. I want to visit the theme parks. Of course, when my wife and I travel, my number one thought is what's the closest theme park that I can check out? We went to Cancun, Mexico, and I made her go to this theme park called Ichcaret, which is famous in Mexico, but nowhere else apparently. But I thought it was awesome. And I would go back in a heartbeat. Anyway, Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea are supposed to be two of the best Disney theme parks I've never visited. Very excited for that. Are you guys going to the parks? And do you have any other plans of stuff you want to see around Tokyo?
Well, our trip was basically exclusively theme parks.
Yes.
We were going to run up to Universal Japan because they're the last park in the world that has the Jaws ride, which I've never been able to get on. And boy, this is why you consult a professional travel agent. Naomi Sonfield was able to give us the heads up. It's under refurbishment the entire time you're there. So she saved us a very long trip to Universal that would have been disappointing had Jaws been closed. So we are going to Tokyo Disneyland and Disney Sea. It's gonna be 4 days.
Yeah.
But now we get a day to see Tokyo, which we're absolutely, hey, if you can't see Jaws, see Tokyo.
Great. Well, I hope to run into you guys at the parks. We'll also be there at the Disney parks. And yeah, we had a similar rug kind of pulled out from underneath us because I was definitely planning on, my wife has to work as well. I was planning on using one of those days to maybe go up to Universal Japan and check out the Jaws ride. But yeah, sadly, it was not meant to be. I loved that ride as a kid. Would love to see it again someday. Hopefully, maybe someday in the future, get to go back and check out Universal Studios Japan. Okay, let's get into Celebration. Well, not proper, because first I want to talk about the pre-parties and the pre-events. Star Wars night at baseball stadiums. This is something they do stateside here. I've been to Star Wars night at Anaheim Angels Stadium, but they're doing it Wednesday night before Star Wars Celebration at the Chiba Lotte Marines Stadium there. I keep saying it. I've always said it skips a generation. Baseball enthusiasm. My dad is a huge baseball fan, and I kind of grew out of that. I kind of grew away from that as I got older. Is this something that you guys would want to attend, a Star Wars night at a Japanese baseball stadium, to check that out?
Well,
Stan Solo's going.
Oh. Well, you got to answer a question first. What is baseball?
Exactly.
Is that sports?
I actually know a lot about baseball because my dad was a professional baseball umpire when I was a kid.
Oh, wow.
So, but yeah, I have zero interest in it, which was, I'm sure, very disappointing for him. But yeah, it's an earthly sport, basically. It's kind of like Blurns ball in Futurama, but there's no multi-ball option.
Our idea of sports is rope dropping. We are rope dropping Olympians. Let's just
yes. All right, so none of us are going to the Chiba City Marines, Chiba Lotte Marines Star Wars night, but I hear they're gonna have photo ops and all sorts of fun Star Wars stuff happening there. The thing that I am going to is the virtual cantina party, which is the Thursday night before Celebration. So that final night before the convention starts. This is put on by our friend Spencer Jowetz. He did the Celebration 2023 preview episode of Who's the Bossk with me, and I'm very excited for that. This party is always a lot of fun. This will be my third time attending that. Is that something that you guys got a ticket for? I know it's sold out now.
No, by the time we finally made all of our plans, almost everything sold out.
Yeah. So I know there's going to be like karaoke and food, and they actually have Star Wars celebrities there to take photos with and pay for autographs, that kind of thing. Very fun pre-party called Virtual Cantina Meetup. This is probably not wait, hang on. I have it here, actually. I have it open in one of my tabs. Let me get the real name of this party put out by our friend Spencer Jowetz. It's called the Not So Virtual Cantina Special Edition, and it's going to be let's see, Thursday, April 17th, 2025, 7:00 p.m. And you can't get a ticket for it, just like HalcyCon. Don't even try. Oh, here we go. Michael Farnham has the list, or it has one of the celebrities that will be there. Katie O'Brien from The Mandalorian will be appearing.
Wow.
Solo show passed on that one. But yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Let's get into the event itself, the official Star Wars celebration. I'm going to try to find the schedule here. Again, I have that in one of my tabs. Okay. All right. Celebration schedule. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the main panels that were announced, and we can talk about each one. And then we'll go through, if you guys want to highlight any of the smaller panels on the smaller stages, we can do that as well. But, Friday morning, April 18th, 10:00 a.m., probably the biggest panel that's going to make the most headlines at Star Wars Celebration is called Who's the Bossk? And it's got me interviewing Dr. Chris Kempshall, who is author of Star Wars, The Rise and Fall of the Galactic Empire. So please come and check that out. And if you can't get into my panel, if it's completely full and you need to find like an overflow room with something else going on, they also have the Mandalorian and Grogu panel happening at the same time on the celebration stage. My stage is called the HoloNet News stage. That's where all the cool kids are going to be. But Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni and those guys are going to be over at the Mandalorian and Grogu stage. And it says, join Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, and special guests for a sneak peek at what's to come for the Mandalorian and Grogu on their biggest adventure yet. The first big screen Star Wars movie since 2019, The Rise of Skywalker. What are you guys going to do 10 a.m. on Friday, April 18th?
Well, we know where the cool kids are, so we'll be at the HoloNet stage watching your panel, Mike.
And we can say, I actually have a ticket to go to the Mando and Grogu thing, and I'm not going. I want to go to Who's the Bossk.
That's amazing. We talked about this a little bit before we started recording, and honestly, now you guys have told me you're going to show up, but I wasn't expecting anyone to want to bail on the Mandalorian and Grogu. And I keep saying we're going to have fun regardless, no matter what. First of all, my wife can't go because she's working over there at the other thing. My boss can't go because he's working over there at the other thing. My coworker can't go because he's covering the other thing. We'll have a handful of close friends and well-wishers at the Who's the Bossk panel at 10 a.m. on the HoloNet News stage. And honestly, if and when you guys show up, it really means the world to me to have you there. I've seen you guys on stage at San Diego Comic-Con and really enjoyed that. So I will be very grateful to anyone who comes to Who's the Bossk. But yeah, I'm sure a lot of the big news is going to be coming out of the celebration stage and the Mandalorian and Grogu panel. I'm sure they'll announce some casting. They'll show some footage, I bet, from that first new Star Wars live action movie in a while. Are you guys excited for the movie, at least?
I will be. Right now, I'm so focused on Andor that I can't see anything past Andor. Like we're so unbelievably hyped for that. But of course, day one, show one, we are there.
So that's like the big kickoff. That makes sense. It's kind of the most high profile thing. It's already been shot, the movie. So we're just waiting for a year for it to come out as they finish all the visual effects and stuff. So that's the big day one, first thing in the morning, 10 a.m. celebration stage. Then we've got at 11:30 a.m. the Hasbro Star Wars panel. I can't cover this because I'm going to be, again, I'm going to miss out on a lot of the big stuff I would like to see. But I'm assigned to cover the Lucasfilm Publishing panel, which I don't mind either because I love the books just as much as I love the toys. Anyway, join Hasbro marketing and design team, in-depth look at latest Star Wars offerings. Basically, they're going to announce, like we talked about earlier, they're going to announce a bunch of new toys coming to the Black Series and the Vintage Collection. Anything that you think might be announced or anything that you would like to see announced at this panel, either of you?
Can we just get our HasLab Death Star playset? Please, finally, They've absolutely been crushing it with their Black Series Vintage Collection projects. And come on, Death Star, let's go. Now's the time. It's going to be in
That
Andor.
would be
We all
awesome.
know it's going to be in Andor.
So I'm now thinking back to that original, I don't know what year would it came out, 78 Death Star playset with the weird like triangle platforms. You probably have one, yeah. How would you improve on that for a HasLab Death Star? What would it actually look like? Because you can't make a scale 3 3/4 inch scale Death Star. Even that would be too big. But what would it actually be in your mind?
Honestly, I really do think that Lego did something really, really clever and kind of made it modular, still, spherical, but that, all of these rooms can be kind of standalone, yet still kind of connect. And they were able to get, scenes from multiple movies into one playset.
Yeah.
Now, this would be significantly larger. I mean, so we're talking about a very, very large, expensive thing. But I think that the trick to making a successful Death Star playset in 2025 is it's got to be modular. It's got to be, you can add on to things. And I think that's going to be the secret that, give us a huge thing to fund as a HasLab and then sell add-ons at retail until the end of time. We'll buy them. We will.
Regardless of how much room we may or may not have or money, we will be giving Hasbro and Lucasfilm money until we die. Exactly. I'll be at the Lucasfilm Publishing Manga Mania on the Galaxy stage at noon that day, and that's where we're going to take a deep dive into the past, present, and future of manga stories from a galaxy far, far away. I haven't read any of the manga, actually. I'm big into the comics and the novels, but I know that there are manga in the High Republic. There have been manga set in other periods of the Star Wars saga. Do you guys know any of these manga stories from the past, or are you looking forward to any news coming out of this one? I think it's kind of off of both of our radars, right?
Yeah. Visions is kind of our introduction to that world,
right?
But
Speaking
I will
of
say
which,
that it was
yeah, go ahead.
interesting that I may see you at that panel, Mike.
Okay, I'll see you there.
Yeah.
But speaking of Star Wars Visions, they're going to be screening The Duel and The Pit from Star Wars Visions on the Twin Sun stage at 1:00 that day, and it'll have a Q&A with Junpei Mizuzaki from Kamikaze Duga. These are like anime. This is an anime studio. So I think The Duel was season 1 of Visions, then The Pit was season 2, and they'll have a Q&A with Arthel Isum, who's CEO of Dart Shita. Sorry, I'm going to mangle all these pronunciations, but yeah, there's a fun screening of Star Wars Visions. Then at 1:00, we get into what we talked about earlier, Light and Magic, a deep dive into Light and Magic, the critically acclaimed documentary series chronicling the legendary journey of industrial light and magic. Again, I'm going to be over on the covering the publishing stuff, and I think my coworker Alex is going to be at the Light and Magic panel. Do you guys have plans to check this one out?
I will definitely be there, and boy, that's a tough one because you're missing video games and their impact on Star Wars, which is another one that's very near and dear to my heart.
Right.
But really, I'm that Light and Magic was just such a wonderful, wonderful peek behind the scenes. And again, we're all old enough that it's really hard to pull out stuff we haven't seen over the decades, and they did.
Mm-hmm.
They pulled out stuff that we had never seen.
Right.
And we expect that they're going to do that again. They really got a deep dive into those archives.
Yep, very much looking forward to that and to see what news. Well, actually, the weird thing about this Light and Magic thing is this second season is released that day. It's released April 18th. So there'll be, we're not going to have time to watch it because of course, I'm going to be on a panel that morning. So I'm not going to be watching it, but you can go and enjoy the panel. I'm sure Joe Johnston will be there. Hopefully they're flying him out for this and learn about the documentary and then go watch it whenever you have free time the following week or whatever on Disney Plus. Now here's where I'll be again, Lucasfilm Publishing Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. This is again, probably one of the panels I'm looking forward to the most. It's sort of the equivalent to the Hasbro panel, but in the publishing world. Well, they'll make all sorts of announcements of what's coming up from the world of Lucasfilm Publishing. So they're going to be talking about the grand finale of the High Republic, and the guests that they have listed here are Adam Christopher, who was actually my guest on my panel at last celebration. Tessa Gratton, who I've interviewed on this podcast, Mark Guggenheim, Lydia Kang, Ethan Sachs, we've talked about him, Phil Sostak, Alyssa Wong, and Marvel, I think he's the editor of Marvel Comics, CB Sobolski. Anything from the publishing panel that you guys are predicting or excited about? Anything possibility coming out of that?
So here's my dilemma, Mike, is that one's on my list too. But
Yeah.
at 2:30, they're also going to have telling stories across cultures, Star Wars in Japan.
Oh yeah.
So I'm struggling. It's typical con Sophie's choice
Right.
with that. But I would love to hear if the authors that have been part of the High Republic, if there's a new chunk
Yeah.
of time that they can, work with, even if it's, I don't know, Mandalorians. They can, you know what I mean? To have that
Yes.
same kind of, that would be incredible.
I know.
Wow.
And Stan says we need to clone ourselves. I feel this
know.
way at every convention,
Yep.
especially San Diego Comic-Con is the worst, and then
Yes.
Celebration too. There's so many things happening all at the same time, and you can't possibly see all of them. So you kind of have to pick and choose your priorities. But yeah, like you said, first of all, before we move on, was there anything you wanted to say about publishing, Martin?
No, I love being surprised.
Okay. Yeah, hopefully I agree with you, Kristine. I think we are going to learn more about what's coming from the High Republic authors after the High Republic ends this summer.
Mhm.
So that's where I'm looking forward to learning more about that. But then, like you mentioned, it's telling stories across cultures, Star Wars and Japan at 2:30 live on the Twin Suns stage. The connections between Star Wars and Japan go back to the creation of the movie saga itself. Yeah, because
Right.
George Lucas was heavily influenced by like Akira Kurosawa. And then it says this in-depth panel explores how the storytelling, history, art, and popular culture of Japan have influenced Star Wars for nearly 50 years, and how Star Wars has made its own mark in Japanese storytelling. I bet this would be absolutely fascinating. So I hope one of us gets there and can tell the others about it, because I bet this is going to be a super interesting panel. Did you have any more thoughts you wanted to say about that one?
Mm-mm. The struggle is real.
Yeah. Gosh,
I did understand the Sophie's Choice reference, by the way.
Oh, good.
Right.
Good.
So speaking of, now we talked about news coming out of the Mando and Grogu panel. I bet we're also going to get news coming out of this next panel, Lucasfilm Animation's 20th anniversary. So 20 years ago would have been 2005. They probably started development and production on the Clone Wars cartoon around then. And now it's the 20th anniversary. We're going to have Dave Filoni and Athena Portillo, who's the vice president of animation production, celebrating 20th anniversary and a sneak peek at what's to come. To me, I know a lot of other people have predicted this, but I bet they're going to announce what is the next animated series coming from the world of Star Wars. All right, here's my question about this one. I'm a little bit more specific. If you could have your dream, so we just finished the Bad Batch last year, right? That's about the clones in the aftermath of Order 66, kind of the early years of the Empire, and this specific group of clones and how they deal with that major change in the galaxy. But if you could have one kind of dream project come out of Lucasfilm Animation, what do you think it would be? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Galactic Star Cruiser.
Yeah, Star Cruiser Adventure.
What happened to those characters before they got on the ship?
Right.
What happened to the ship whenever, the Hutts owned it? What happened to Captain Jack and his fight with Captain Keevan? I mean, these are things we need to know.
Honestly, to me, the Halcyon is such an amazing creative ground for an ongoing series. Different passengers every week, different destinations every week. I mean, MacGuffin of the week, mystery of the week, entry, heist of the week. I'm not going to say it writes itself, because I would write it for them.
I think that would be extremely unlikely, but also incredibly awesome if they did something like that. I also saw people really hoping that we finally get the long theorized possible Indiana Jones animated series, which I think would be incredible.
Oh,
So
I'm
much possibility there. Yeah.
so for that. I mean,
yes.
what they actually had in I'm not going to say a children's uh, comic type book, an illustrated book, but it was more for teens. A couple years ago, they made 2 or 3 of them,
Yeah.
and they were amazing.
Yeah.
Absolutely unbelievable how well that character translates. And this was just in a graphical format, but
Right.
for animation, I think Indiana Jones would be
Yeah.
right at home in that
Yeah.
format.
I think if they did sort of like a Batman the animated series type thing, in that tone, I think that would be great. And yeah, the last movie didn't perform that well at the box office, but everybody's loving this recent video game that came
Oh,
out, The Great Circle. And I have a PlayStation 5, so it's not out yet. It's coming out. Actually, it's coming out on PS5 while we're in Japan. So after I get back, I'll be playing that. Anyway, yes, please, Indiana Jones animated series. I'm sure that one of the big fan theories about what will be announced is an Asajj Ventress focused animated series, because they kind of had like a little backdoor pilot for that in the Bad Batch. That wouldn't surprise me if if that ends up being what we get coming out of that animation panel. And yeah, Tough Luck has been saying that the Lucasfilm animation panel is another one, along with the Mandalorian and Grogu. I hope they publicly live stream. That's something I didn't do any research on because I'm going to be there. But yeah, they are live streaming some stuff. I just don't know exactly what. So hopefully the folks that aren't able to be there in Japan will get to see some of this stuff on the live stream, or hopefully Lucasfilm will release video on their YouTube channel. After the animation panel, the expanding Star Wars galaxy through plastic molds. That's one of the major. Oh no, not molds, plastic models. Excuse me. Sorry. Plastic models from Bandai Spirit's production design team, product design team. So this is talking about kit bashing. Talk about the influence of Japanese plastic models on Star Wars movies through kit bashing. That's interesting too. That's something that Nick Tierce would be super into. I wonder if he's going to that one. Anything strike you about that particular panel?
Love the models, but I got to tell you, it's in direct competition with the George Lucas Super Live Adventure History.
Right.
Okay. And that wins hands down.
And that's our friends over at Blast Points putting that on, right?
Yeah. I mean, the fact that there was a George Lucas stage show.
Yes.
We're not kidding, folks. There's actually, and this was done by Kenneth Feld, the guy that put on the circuses and the ice shows.
Okay.
They actually had a George Lucas stage show in the early 90s. And I believe this was only in Japan, that covered Willow. It covered Tucker. It covered all these different Lucasfilm properties in a stage show. I never got to see it. I would love to see someone do a deep dive into that. So that's butts in seats on that one.
Yeah, this is one of those things I think it's kind of flew under the radar, and it's not. I don't think a lot of Star Wars or Lucasfilm fans are generally aware of this. I remember reading about it in a book when I was a teenager, but I think it would be super fascinating to learn more about that. I don't think I can make it to that panel, but if you can, I'm sure that'll be a fun one. The last major panel on Friday is Doug Chiang designing the world of Skeleton Crew. That's going to be awesome because Doug Chiang, he's been working at Lucasfilm since the prequel trilogy. He's basically his fingerprints are on all the design choices in the last 25 plus years of Star Wars. So that'll be super fascinating to hear him talk about Star Wars Skeleton Crew. You guys ready to move on to Saturday? All right.
Yes.
Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Andor, a Star Wars story. That's the next big thing coming after Star Wars Celebration. Pretty much that same week after Star Wars Celebration, we're getting the season premiere, season 2 of Andor, a Star Wars story. Used to be called Star Wars: Andor. and I always say the colon out loud, but anything we're going to have executive producer Tony Gilroy, he's the showrunner, and Diego Luna is going to be there with some of the rest of the cast to get a sneak peek at the final season of Andor. What are you guys most excited for in terms of Andor?
This is the panel of the show for myself.
Yeah.
And we're literally looking to trade Mando and Grogu to get a second ticket into this. Andor and Rogue One are, for me personally, it's one project, and it's my favorite Star Wars anything ever. Star Cruiser not included in that, but,
right.
And again, we get it that Andor and Rogue One kind of stand on the shoulders of everything that came above before.
Yeah,
but the storytelling, the characters, impeccable. It is. I've lost track of how many times I've rewatched Andor, and I can't get enough of it. Season 2, 3 episodes a week, and we hear these aren't short episodes.
Yeah.
So we'd love it if they did some kind of premiere of a first couple episodes like they did for Kenobi. That's probably not going to happen. That's logistically a big ask.
Right.
But we want to show support for that kind of storytelling. Star Wars, we love Jedis, we love lightsabers, but that Star Wars can't just be that.
I agree.
And Andor was the very first, well, not the first, but one of the first super high profile things to really gamble on not being that, and grand slam.
Great. Yeah, I'm super. Now, this is one that I will actually get to be there for, because I don't have my own panel happening at the same time. So I will see you there in the Andor panel Saturday morning at 10 o'clock a.m. Here's a good chance to talk about the lottery thing. Now, you want to talk a little bit about who got what? Kristine and Martin, because you told me before we started recording.
The panel selection process was odd. I mean, you have to register to try to get a time slot for the official merchandise store. You got to register to see what of the largest panels. You have to register to see if you can get into those. And there's different levels. You can get to it in the room. You can get to it on like a rewatch stage. You can get to it on a second rewatch stage. I mean, that's how many people want to go see these. And I literally hit the Grand Slam trifecta. I'm in the celebration stage Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to see, Mando, Grogu, and Andor, and then Visions. Unbelievable luck. Kristine, how'd you do?
Nothing. I got nothing.
Goose egg.
Nothing.
Well, and the challenge is that when for people that are going together, when one person gets it, there's no plus one. So I'm sure there are hundreds of thousands of couples that are like, oh, you got it. Okay.
It is a weird system for that very reason. And we get it, that it adds logistical problems to do with the plus one or not. But what's worse, breaking, couples up and whatnot. And again, we're trying to figure out a way to both get into Andor. And we're confident that we'll figure that out. But yeah, we do hope that the showrunners for Celebration kind of look at that system in the future. And you can add a plus one if it's a kid under 16. You may want to think about
how about an adult that's well over 16.
Yeah, I mean, you do the plus one for, but then you get into the problem. It cascades, because what happens if you're if you're a parent with a kid, then you got to do a plus two, and
we get it. It's just frustrating.
Yeah,
to not be able to get into anything.
It seems like an imperfect system, I guess, to say the least. But I hope it works out for you guys and you both get to go to Andor. And like I said, I'll see you there if you do get in. Tough Luck wanted to say the Clone Wars is better than Andor. I don't know if I agree with that. I do like a lot of the Clone Wars, but it had a lot of I feel like filler is like a buzzword these days, but there are some arcs of that I would skip on my next watch through, whereas Andor is pretty strong all the way through. Those are
Rebels,
my
baby,
thoughts on
Rebels.
Rebel. I do like Rebels also more than Clone Wars. I'm sorry. And then the Solo or Stan Solo said he is most excited for the Andor panel. He's got a ticket to the live stage, but he's going to the streaming room for the Mando and Grogu panel. Let's continue on our way through Saturday. We got to get through this, guys. Ahsoka, 1 o'clock. That's following Andor. So we had the big first season of Ahsoka a couple years ago. We know that season 2 is heading into production or has already started production, maybe. So I'm guessing they're going to give us a glimpse of that, but it does call it a look back at the first season of Ahsoka. But I would be shocked if they don't give us something from season 2. What are your feelings on Ahsoka and the panel thereof?
We loved Ahsoka.
Yeah,
we loved it. We loved Ahsoka from the. We're not going to say from the original theatrical Clone Wars film. they were still finding their footing on that, but they Ashley Eckstein stole our hearts with the animated Ahsoka,
Yes.
and Rosario Dawson does a great job as the live action. We loved Ahsoka. We loved the piece they got in Star Tours and in the parks. But if it was a choice between the Ahsoka panel or the Andor panel,
sure.
And it actually was. You can only do one a day.
Yeah.
Andor.
Right. I totally get that, and I probably agree with you on that. Tough Luck says you might not get a publicly live stream of the Ahsoka panel because it's too early for a season 2 trailer. I kind of agree with that. They probably haven't shot much, if they have shot anything yet. After Ahsoka, there's another Doug Chiang panel working in the Star Wars art department. Always interesting to hear that guy talk, so that would be a fun one to go to. We've got a conversation with Oscar Isaac. You know him as Poe Dameron from the Star Wars sequel trilogy. That'll be on the Galaxy stage at 2:45. I'm just going to keep listening, and you guys pipe in if you want to say anything about these. There's a screening of the Siege of Mandalore, which is the final arc of the Star Wars, the Clone Wars animated series. That's at 3:30 p.m. live on the Celebration stage. I know they did this in Anaheim too. They did a screening of that exact arc of the Clone Wars, and it got a huge response. It's probably why they're doing it again.
Right.
So that'll be fun to watch that again. Then we've got, this is a big one for me. Bit Reactor developer panel featuring Respawn Entertainment and Lucasfilm Games. This is going to be a first look at a new Star Wars turn-based tactics game. I like these turn-based games because my brain works very slowly. I don't know if you've played a turn-based RPG or a turn-based tactics game like XCOM is one of my favorites. Have you heard of XCOM? But basically, they give you as much time as you want to decide what you're going to do next in these games. That's what I love about it, because I can sit and think. And if we got something like that in the Star Wars galaxy, that would be right up my alley. And it seems like that's what they're going to be announcing, 4:30 p.m. on the Galaxy stage. Did you guys have any thoughts on that before we move along?
It sounds like it would be my speed as well. So
yeah.
Do you want to throw a shout out to friends at the Dad Badge podcast?
Yes.
Okay.
4 o'clock.
Okay.
The panel, and we know that's going to be a great time. They always are.
Yeah.
Great. Please. Anything that you want to mention from the smaller stages, please throw those in there too. At 4:30 p.m., there will be a Star Wars cosplay showcase, and this is always really impressive when the guests, the fans at Star Wars Celebration get to show off their cosplay creations, whether they're recreating a character from familiar Star Wars content or creating their own Star Wars character and showing that off. Here's my question on this one. Favorite cosplays that you've seen, either like on the Halcyon or at a convention? What are some of your favorites that you've seen?
I got Star Wars Celebration Anaheim.
Yeah.
One that truly, this person made it just for me. I was probably one of 7 people
Yeah.
that maybe got it at the whole show. But Christmas of 1977, the toys weren't ready. There were no Star
Yes.
Wars toys, and Mattel re-released a toy line that they had done years ago called Star Force. And the Knight of Darkness was a very Darth Vader looking character. That again, it predated Star Wars. And someone actually, and so for Christmas 1977, I got the early bird kit for the figures, and I got the Knight of Darkness doll, and someone actually came dressed as the Knight of Darkness toy. Truly, how many people even know what they were looking at? And I just lost it. I just couldn't believe that someone just reached into my memories like that and pulled something wonderful. That, to that person, congratulations, blew my damn mind.
Speaking of Darth Vader-esque characters, I've seen a number of Spaceballs costumes over the years, but
Yes.
I believe this past weekend at WonderCon was my first time seeing the Safari pit helmet version of Dark Helmet with the binoculars going through the little hatch.
That's
That really made me
cool.
laugh.
That-
How about you, Kristine? Any favorite cosplays?
It was actually at MegaCon, and it was somebody dressed as Kristine's. I know I'm saying that wrong.
Black or Stan.
Yeah.
That.
Okay,
Oh,
Chris
But
Anthony,
I'm
yeah.
like, that's dedication, because it's Florida and it's
Yeah.
hot and humid. And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I just had to hug him.
and
Right.
we've seen a lot of Wookiee cosplays over the years, but that one,
He was
screen
beautiful.
accurate. Like,
Yeah.
get a camera. This person is ready to go.
Yeah. Very cool. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to Sunday, the final day. Now, this Star Wars celebration is only going to be 3 days. Recently, I think at the last handful of Star Wars celebrations, we've got 4 days worth of stuff. I guess it's a little shorter this time around, only 3 days long. So let's go through the Sunday schedule. At 10 o'clock a.m., we get a first look at Star Wars Visions Volume 3. So Volume 1 of Visions was all Japanese anime studios. Volume 2, they went all around the world and invited animators from all sorts of different countries to contribute to that anthology series. And now Volume 3 is going back to Japan, which makes sense that they're promoting it so heavily at Star Wars Celebration Japan. So I'm sure we're going to hear from some of the animators talking about the shorts that they are contributing to Star Wars Visions Volume 3. We've mentioned Visions a couple times, and you guys have checked this show out, right, on Disney Plus?
Love Visions. Love
Yeah.
it. Yeah, I'm hoping that in the panel that it's possible that they show, even if obviously they're not showing the animation, but if they can show some of the artists, some of their
Yes.
characters maybe that they've created to this point, that I think
Right.
would be fantastic.
I wouldn't be surprised if we get some stuff like that. I know at Celebration in London, they showed us the Aardman short, which is the Aardman, they do Wallace and Gromit and Chicken Run,
Mhm.
those movies,
Yes,
stop motion
yes.
animation, which is appropriate because they're British. So
Right.
there we got London. I'm sure we'll get a preview of one of the shorts at the Visions panel here. And yeah, the Visions show is so it's a great opportunity to explore playing with the iconography and the themes of Star Wars without having to worry about the canon of it all.
Yep.
None of it ties into what you would see on The Mandalorian or all this other stuff. It's all its own world, its own universe, like the multiverse of Star Wars, basically, or the what if kind of. But mostly with original characters. There have been a few, like I know Boba Fett and Jabba the Hutt have popped up in one of them, but yeah, mostly their own original characters. Very much looking forward to Visions Volume 3 and to the panel. I'll be there covering that morning. Here's the big one that I wish I could go to, but I have other stuff going on. Disney Experiences, Building the Galaxy with Walt Disney Imagineering. So my coworker Alex is going to be covering this, and this is all the things Star Wars happening at Disney parks. I imagine we'll get probably a rundown of recent stuff and maybe some announcements of what's to come. Anything that you guys would like to see so you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening at Galaxy's Edge, RIP Galactic Star Cruiser, but anything that you would predict I predicted we might hear a time shift for Galaxy's Edge. Anything that you would like to see, or maybe are anticipating seeing coming out of this panel?
Well, I mean, they got a who's who of
Yeah.
top level Imagineers and people from
Yes.
Lucasfilm Story Group at this panel. So whatever they're going to talk about, I expect it to be impactful. I don't think this is just going to be glossing out stuff that we've already seen. I really think that there's going to be news, and frankly, if it is a time shift, hey, as long as they're thorough and complete about it, I think there's some really cool possibilities with that idea. So I'm all in favor. The folks that have created Galaxy's Edge have knocked us, blown us away at every turn. They're going to do it again.
And last time at Celebration in London, this panel was hosted by our mutual friend Holly Fry. I don't know if she's doing it again this time. I don't know if they've announced that, but it would be cool if she did.
Ashley Eckstein is doing this time.
I did not know that. Great. On the schedule I have, I guess this is old. This hasn't been updated with that information, but it doesn't say who's moderating. But Ashley Eckstein is a lot of fun too, and she definitely knows her stuff and is a big enthusiastic Star Wars fan. Very much looking forward to hearing from Walt Disney Imagineering on what's to come at Disney parks. Then we've got ILM presents The Mandalorian and Beyond, behind the scenes of The Mandalorian, The Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka, and more on the Galaxy stage at noon. This is always super fascinating, so you get to see how the visual effects are created for the Disney Plus series, basically, and how they use the volume and the stagecraft technology. I got to step onto the volume, a little mini version they built at D23 Expo. It's not called that anymore. It's just D23, the Ultimate Disney Fan Event last year in Anaheim. Are you guys interested in this kind of like behind the scenes stuff? Now, you said you enjoy the Light and Magic documentary, but do you like learning about basically how this stuff is made these days?
No.
No.
I like to live in the illusion, because for me,
you do. Oh, you're being genuine. Okay, I'm surprised.
No,
okay,
I
go
do. I something like the Industrial Light and Magic, I love, because it's kind of like well after, everything that we saw was like kind of well after, and because it's so much of it is hands-on. It was all kind of that pre-digital stuff. So to me, it's fascinating to see it's kind of like you did so much with so little. Where now I'd rather live in the illusion.
I can kind of understand this viewpoint from the new from the Disney Plus era of Star Wars storytelling, because once I learned, like, I don't think I knew anything if I knew anything at all about how they were making The Mandalorian right when it debuted. It was very, very little. And then they put out that it was called Disney Gallery, The Mandalorian on Disney Plus. And they told us about this thing called the volume and the stagecraft. And it blew my mind. I was like, this is the future of filmmaking. And it reduced the cost of how much it costs to make Star Wars by a lot, which is great. But I started to see the seam a little bit, and maybe that's part of the problem, or part of why you are hesitant to kind of consume that kind of behind the scenes stuff. But I'm always like, I feel like when I'm watching The Mandalorian now, it hasn't had a season in a couple of years, but when I watch one of those shows, I'm looking for the seam of where the physical set ends and where the LED screen begins, and sometimes I can find it and sometimes I can't. So I totally get that perspective of not wanting to break the illusion in that way. So I definitely empathize with you. Look like you have something you want to say, Martin.
I love this stuff. I can compartmentalize. I can watch, and I do. The very first time I watch something, half my brain is going, how did they do this? What about this? But the other half of my brain is completely separate from that, absolutely invested in the story, what's going on. And I'm really fortunate. I really like the fact that I can just separate those two things completely. and I don't let the tricks influence my enjoyment of it. But to me, I just love the physical. How did they do this? It is magic. It is magic how they do this.
Even these days where so much of it is done digitally, I do think it is still really impressive to learn about that kind of stuff. At 1:00 p.m. Sunday, there's the Fett family. That's Tamura Morrison and Daniel Logan, both of whom have played Boba Fett, one of whom has played Jango Fett. Discussing their adventures portraying Jango and Boba Fett. So that'll be fun. The heroic sidekicks of Star Wars is the same time on the celebration stage. That's Anthony Daniels, who we know as C-3PO, Ahmed Best, Jar Jar Binks, and Alan Tudyk, who's returning as K2SO in Andor. Sorry. Oh God, you guys didn't watch anything. Oh, is that a spoiler? You guys know that K2SO is coming back, right? Sorry,
Yeah, just start from somewhere.
They're gonna tell us about
it. Yeah.
All right, great. Sorry. Oh man, I gotta watch my spoilers here. But take the stage for a behind-the-scenes look at their performances. So yeah, you get all the sidekick characters. That'll be a fun one. Those actors are a lot of fun. Go ahead. Did you have a?
I hope this is an opportunity, and I don't know because I'm just starting to. I didn't know that Ahmed Best had done the whole series prior to being on Grogu and Mandalorian, the Mandalorian, that he had done this whole series where he played a Jedi and he did like games and stuff like that. I didn't know that. So I'm hoping this is one of those opportunities where he just gets a standing ovation and gets just tons and tons of love just dumped on him. Because
I know that. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, that's kind of the same thing with Hayden Christensen. Whenever he came to Celebration, that he had been dumped on for so many years, and everybody was so vocal about it. And it's like Martin had said before. It's like everybody has their own Star Wars, and just because it's not yours doesn't mean you get to tear it to pieces. And or the people portraying those characters,
right?
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Yeah.
And I know that Ahmed Best, like you said, and Hayden have gotten better receptions like the last five years or so, and maybe a little bit more. They've been getting very warm welcomes at these conventions. And yeah, Ahmed Best has found this new life. He played Kelleran Beck, the Jedi Master, in that Jedi Temple Challenge show, and then he got to pop up in The Mandalorian. Now that character is in the Jedi Knights, I think it's called, comic book from Marvel. So hopefully we'll get to see him play him again in live action. That would be really cool. But yeah, that seems like a fun panel for those who are into. Yeah, those actors are always so entertaining to watch. Anthony Daniels, Alan Tudyk is so hilarious, and yeah, Ahmed Best. After that, 50 Years of Magic, again celebrating the legacy of Industrial Light and Magic. We've talked about them quite a bit in this episode, but 2:00 p.m. live on the Galaxy stage, you can celebrate 50 years of groundbreaking visual effects and artistry, production mastery, technological innovation. Hear from longtime ILM veterans as they take you on a journey through the company's legendary achievements. Then you've got another screening of the Star Wars Rebels finale, a great show. Relive the unforgettable Star Wars Rebels finale, which paved the way for future stories in The Mandalorian and Ahsoka, which is basically Rebels season 4 in live action. That's 2:15 p.m. on the Twin Suns stage. Then lastly, we've gotten to the end here. Celebration Japan closing ceremony, 3:30 p.m. on the Celebration Galaxy Twin Suns and Star Wars Celebration live stage, all happening at the same time. That'll be fun. You get to kind of relive some moments. They show some video highlights. And then at the end of that, they usually announce what the next Star Wars celebration will be, where it will take place, when it will happen. If I had to guess, the next celebration will be in 2027, which just so happens to be the 50th anniversary of Star Wars.
Oh my gosh.
What do you guys think would be the most appropriate location for Star Wars Celebration, the 50th anniversary of the franchise?
Gilbert, Arizona.
Come on down.
You can have it here. I gotta tell you that it was just in Anaheim recently.
Yeah.
So right, New York would be a fantastic bet.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to New York. I mean, I grew up on Long Island, so I always like going back there. I was thinking San Francisco would be good because so much of the franchise has its roots in the Bay Area. But yeah, LA would be the most convenient for me,
Yeah.
or Anaheim. That would be great. Yeah, Patrick Rediker wants to know when the running of the Wilro Hoods spelling and the Narkina 5 escape. I don't know. We don't have that on the schedule, but I'm sure you can
I don't think they
find that
put that
out.
on the schedule just to keep the, innocent
Yeah,
people without,
right.
Yeah.
Now that Stan Solo says he's also looking forward to droids, artificial intelligence, and sentience looks interesting at
Mm.
12:45. So, do you guys have anything else? Any other panels that jumped out to you from the smaller stages that we haven't mentioned yet?
One jumped at me real quick is on Friday, April 18th, 3:30 to 4:30 on the collector's stage, how the Star Wars collecting age began. And boy,
Yeah.
this has got Jim Swearingen from literally, he was the first person at Kenner that read the screenplay and was one of the absolute key people in the
Yeah.
original Star Wars toy line that truly it changed our lives. It changed the entire trajectory of mine, even as a kid. So I cannot wait to clap for those folks.
That's right. I would have learned about him on the Toys That Made Us Netflix
Yeah.
series. I remember that. How about you, Christine? Did you have any other panels you want to mention, or are you good to move on here?
No, I think we covered everything that I've at least got on my list, my hope list.
Great. So yeah, those are all the big panels. Gosh, there's so much going on. There's going to be a lot of news coming out. Really quickly, I want to mention, in addition to all that, there's also celebrity guests that you can go and pay money to meet or get an autograph or a photo with. And those include Hayden Christensen. As you know, he played Anakin Skywalker, young Anakin Skywalker, or teenage. You guys know what I'm talking about. Vanessa Marshall, the voice of Hera Syndulla on Star Wars Rebels. Rosario Dawson, the current live action version of Ahsoka Tano. Ahmed Best, who we talked about earlier. Jar Jar Binks, Kelleran Beck. John Knoll from Industrial Light and Magic, big VFX guy. He's also the co-creator of Adobe Photoshop, believe it or not. Super cool to meet and interact with him. Diego Luna, the titular Cassian Andor from Andor. Mads Mikkelsen, who we know as Galen Erso from Rogue One, A Star Wars Story. Alan Tudyk, K2SO. Manny Jacinto, the stranger from The Acolyte, will be appearing. Daniel Logan, young Boba Fett. Anthony Daniels, C-3PO, Tamara Morrison, Jango Fett, and Boba Fett. Doug Chang, who we talked about earlier from ILM, and the design side of Star Wars. I guess he's more the concept design side of Star Wars. Very creative, brilliant mind, Doug Chang, and then Ashley Eckstein, of course, the voice of animated Ahsoka Tano, among others that have both been announced and not announced yet. So many celebrities. Have you guys ever paid for like a celebrity encounter or taking a photo with a celeb at one of these or an autograph? Tell me a little bit about those experiences. How's that been for you?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think it's been really good. It's the difficult part is that it's so fast, understandably, because they need to make sure they
Yeah.
get through everybody in the line. So we get it. But sometimes it's one of those things like, did you hear what I said? Because I don't remember what I said. Did you hear what they said? No, I don't remember anything about it. But the picture looks okay.
But at the same time, you can remember several cases where you literally have got just seconds with the celebrity, but they made an impact.
Mhm.
A
Yes.
lot of them are just literally almost glazed eyed because they're
Yeah.
just. But some of them,
Yeah.
just in that moment that they have, they're able to do something, say something that means something and sticks with you.
Mhm.
And we love that. I mean, we were really fortunate to go do a photo op with Dick Van Dyke recently in a convention
Wow.
in Phoenix, and he was just as lovely a person as you would ever want Dick Van Dyke to be, and he
Yeah.
was so fully there and present and just joyful.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we've done this with a lot of folks. And then you got the horror stories of ones that didn't go that
Well, yeah.
well.
That's okay. We just
You
ignore those.
gotta roll the dice and see what you get.
Well, I've never done one, but I've heard amazing things about Ewan McGregor specifically.
Oh,
Like
I'm
I know
sure.
that he goes out of his way to make everybody feel like they had their own unique personal encounter with him. And I think that probably helps him sell more, when people hear, "Oh, I had a great positive experience meeting Ewan McGregor," then more people are going to buy those tickets to meet him at these events. Let's move on. I just want to talk about, I'm just going to list off some other stuff that's happening also around Star Wars Celebration this year. There's an art show, and they've released a bunch of this art, and it's all amazing. And I have zero wall space for it, but I think there was one piece that I was like, I have to get this, and it's again, like Akira Kurosawa style movie poster, but it's Star Wars.
Mhm.
It's done in the style of those movies from 50, 60 years ago or more. And that I have to pick one of those up because it's Celebration Japan. Speaking of that style of art, the badge art designs this year are just incredible. I hope that they release actually a poster with like just all the badge art on it because it looks so incredibly cool. It's in a Japanese art style called, I want to say it's called Yukio, or hang on, I have that here. It is called Yukio E, UKIYO-E art style, and it's just so incredibly neat. Each badge has its own character, and I don't think they've said like which character will be assigned to what type of badge yet. So it's
Right.
kind of luck of the draw, but we'll see. We'll find out who gets what character. I kind of want the Nubs one, but I have a feeling that's going to be for the kids badges.
Yeah.
Speaking of Nubs, what a transition. Speaking of Nubs, he's going to be there. Nubs from Young Jedi Adventures will be there in the walk around character. This has popped up at D23. They also had it up in San Francisco, I know, at a couple events, and you can go and get your picture taken with Nubs. We mentioned the cosplay showcase earlier. That'll be a lot of fun. How about booths? What kind of booths do you guys usually like to visit? Is there anything that you're like, I have to visit this booth before the event is over?
What's great about a convention in Japan is all of the vendors that you typically see at convention after convention after convention. A lot of them
Yeah.
aren't going to be in Japan. So we're looking
Right.
forward to the all new vendors that we've never seen before with all new stuff that we don't get domestically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we're kind of looking for some of the interesting, offcast, stuff, or, bootleg kind of, stuff that you just get in other parts of the world that never came to the United States. We're that's the ones we're looking for. But of course, Hasbro is going to be we're going to beeline for their booth
Mhm.
always.
Martin, you've
Yeah.
given me another perfect segue into talking about merchandise that will be available.
Merchandising.
Merchandising.
We're here for it.
Hasbro, oh boy, this is the one I'm the most excited about, and I'm sure you are too. We talked about Star Wars Visions earlier. There's a character called the Ronin, who's in the very first episode of Star Wars Visions, and he has a little droid. And
Mhm.
again, they're kind of in that samurai style. And now Hasbro has made the convention exclusive for Star Wars Celebration 2025. It's a 2-pack of the Ronin and his droid in black and white, as the short, the Star Wars Vision animated short is, but his lightsaber is red as it is in the short. I'm just like, oh, this is so incredibly cool. I have to have this. It's one of those exclusives where I'm like, if I don't walk away with one of these, I'm going to be very, very
Mhm.
disappointed. I'm sure you feel the same way. You want to talk a
Oh,
little bit
yes.
about this?
It's gonna be ugly, Mike. I'm just telling you, it's gonna be ugly. I have to have that. As soon as that episode finished, I was like, if this is how Visions is gonna be, I am 1,000% in.
I'd argue
Yeah.
that's your favorite episode.
It is.
And so
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Kristine is already a Black Series collector, so this is as in
Right.
her wheelhouse as it could be. I mean, they picked something perfect for her. That's definitely going to be our top grab of the show.
Yeah, super. I really hope I can get my hands on one of those. Then Fig Pin.
Mhm.
I remember I couldn't make it to San Diego Comic Con because I got COVID a few years ago, and you guys were incredibly helpful in picking up one of the Fig Pin exclusives because I think it was Bossk that year,
It
It
was.
if
was.
I'm not mistaken. And I was like,
Yep.
"Oh, please get me a Bossk," and you were nice enough to grab that for me. So Fig Pin also, I forget what the Fig Pin exclusives are this year, but at Celebration, but they have some good ones, a bunch of different characters. Then Jazzwares has some great stuff. There's also lots of pins, t-shirts. There's this is one thing I really want to get to is there's like a decorative fan, Japanese style decorative fan that has the Star Wars Celebration key art and logo on it from Japan. I think I might walk away with that. Again, even though I don't have the wall space to display it, that just looks so cool to me, and I think it would be a perfect piece of, a souvenir or memorabilia from Celebration. There's waffle cookies also. I don't is waffle cookies a thing in Japan? I
Like
guess
soup waffle or
We'll find out.
like
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Very excited for all that stuff. If you could pick one thing, I know. So Martin, it's going to be Andor, right? That's the thing you're most excited for. Christine, what's your number one thing you're most excited for at Celebration this year?
If I get into the Andor panel, Andor,
Yeah, yeah,
um, Visions. I
yeah,
just really love the idea of all these different artists, like we had
yeah,
said, that have their own thought on, it went from their love of Star Wars to how they integrated that into what they love. And this
yeah.
is this is what happened. It's phenomenal. So I can't wait to see what they do for season 3.
You know what I just really love about Star Wars Celebration is the 3 days this time, 3 days worth of positive Star Wars energy. You
Yes.
don't have to worry about trolls like you find on the internet in most Star Wars discussions. No negativity. It's just everybody loving Star Wars as a franchise, the past, present, and future. I just love being around those fans, and I am one
Mhm.
of them, and I'm there, and I'm enthusiastic as well. That's the thing I'm looking forward to the most. So my last question for you guys about Star Wars Celebration, now that you have put on your own convention, Halcyon in Orlando, Florida, and coming back again for year 2, what have you learned about the logistics of putting on an event like this that has helped you appreciate or maybe uh appreciate Celebration more or less, I guess, depending on what you think they're doing right or wrong? How has the how has putting on your own convention recontextualized attending a convention for you guys?
All of those showrunners and the people behind the scenes all deserve a hug. Like
yeah.
you have no idea the nuances that go through a a group of people that are putting their heart and soul into producing something that they hope people will love and appreciate as much as they do.
Yeah.
And we have had some very odd conversations about what we do and don't do, what we buy and don't buy, what we show and don't show. I mean, it's incredible the kind of minutia that you have to make sure is just right.
And every something that every decision impacts so many things that people just never ever would think about, could think about if they're not behind the scenes doing it. So
Right.
it is interesting. I actually do look at shows differently when I'm there, and I have more patience. I've caught myself, oh, what is this? Well, you give it a moment, it'll be fine. I yeah, but it has been an interesting thing to kind of see it from the other side. That's for sure.
Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. Star Wars Celebration Japan 2025, April 18th through the 20th. Chiba City. It's outside of Tokyo. Wow, what an adventure we have ahead of us. I'm getting chills just talking about it right now, and it's coming up in just a couple weeks. We're hitting the 2-hour mark here, guys. I cannot express how thankful I am that you guys stuck around and helped me go through all of this and talked about all this with me. Let's wrap up by getting into our final segment here on Who's the Boss, called First Steps into a Larger World. This is where we talk about the media that we're consuming and or enjoying outside of Star Wars. My example this week is a little show on Apple TV Plus that everyone told me to watch a million times, and we finally have started it. It's called Severance. It's a sci-fi comedy, I would classify it as. It's a little, it's got comedic elements to it. It's more a sci-fi, I would say, sort of in the vein of a Lost. I would put it in that same category of lighthearted sci-fi. Very much enjoying it. We are close to the end of season 1. It's got a great cast. It's eerie, it's spooky, and it's funny in this, in bits and spurts, and yeah, highly recommended. Adam Scott, good stuff. It's called Severance. We're not done with it yet. No spoilers, please. Obviously it's still going, but we haven't seen any of season 2 yet. So that's my choice for this week. Let's say, Martin, you want to go ahead and give me your first steps into a larger world? What have you been reading or watching
I gotta
lately?
tell you, Mythic Quest on
Mythic Quest.
Apple TV. Yeah. It's done by mostly the same team that's behind the It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Bob McElhaney, and a bunch of faces that you'll know, amazing actors. But
Yeah.
it's all about a software development company and what goes on behind the scenes. And it's comedy, but they also know when to really bring the feels. Absolutely tip-top storytelling. It's hilarious. It's great characters. We love it. They've actually just launched a series of standalone episodes called Side Quests that you get half an hour with some character that's been standing in the background for a couple seasons.
Nice.
Who is that person? Now you get to find out. But 3 seasons, and absolutely adore that show.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. Tori, my wife, likes Mythic Quest. I don't think she's seen the most recent stuff, but something I've been meaning to check out. I will get into that eventually. Again, we're still catching up on, like, Severance season 1 came out 3 years ago and we're watching it now. So that's how far behind we are on TV. How about you, Kristine? What have you been enjoying lately?
Daredevil.
Oh, okay. So this is
new-
another thing. Yeah, we're also behind on this. We're in season 3 of the Netflix Daredevil, and then after that, we'll watch. Are you watching Born Again? I'm guessing.
We are. Yeah.
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 How's
We
that been?
love the first run. It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, we were so nervous because there had been such a kerfuffle around, how they started with it. And then they ended up kind of scrapping everything that they had done as far as the script and stuff had gone and started over again. And that's never a good sign.
Except this time.
But in this case, it truly was. It just feels like a continuation of the Daredevil
Right.
that we already loved.
Great. Yeah, like I said, we're getting through the Netflix show, then we'll move on to Born Again, which Stan agrees is so good. And let's get through some other comments here. Patrick, not a season on a con goer as y'all, but I have been to SDCC and HalcyCon. SDC is huge. The love and community at HalcyCon is unlike anything I've experienced. That's what I've heard. Yeah, nothing but good stuff about your show, your convention. Patrick, can I talk you into joining us? I guess he means at Celebration. And Patrick said he would if he could. Unfortunately, we won't see Patrick in Japan. And then a little crying emoji. Guys, again, this is the end of this episode of Who's the Boss. It's one of the longest, if not the longest episode. There's a couple that broke 2 hours before this one, but it's up there. Thank you so much, really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, Kristine Smith and Martin Smith. Let's plug your stuff one more time. Where can people go to find anything that you guys do on the internet?
For Heroes of the Halcyon, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on Threads. And then for HalcyCon, we have our halcycon.com website. And then we're also on Instagram. That's the best place to find us.
Awesome. Yeah. Be sure to check out Heroes of the Halcyon for sure. That podcast is a lot of fun, especially if you are into the Galactic Star Cruiser or are curious about the Galactic Star Cruiser, don't know what it is or anything else going on, you guys have talked about all sorts of immersive entertainment and immersive theater, that kind of stuff. That's available wherever you get your podcasts. On the next episode of this podcast, that will be the episode that I actually record at Star Wars Celebration. So if you can't make it to my panel, hopefully I press the button and it gets recorded onto the little Zoom recorder I'm bringing, and I will upload that as the next episode of Who's the Bossk, in addition to whatever interviews. I know I already have one interview lined up. I won't say what it is, but that will be included in that episode as well. So you get to at least sort of vicariously live that part of Star Wars Celebration through the Who's the Bossk podcast. As always, please visit laughingplace.com for all your Disney news and opinions. I'm on Instagram as well, and my account is called Who's the Bossk Pod on Instagram. One last time, I really want to thank you guys for the 2-hour Star Wars Celebration 2025 preview episode here on Who's the Bossk. My name is Mike Celestino. Thank you to my guests, Martin Smith, Kristine Smith, heroes of the Halcyon. See you real soon. Thank you. May the Force be with you. See you in Japan if you're going to be there, just a couple weeks. And take care. See you next time. I don't know what else to say here. You guys have any last final? No, let's do a tabuete. Why don't we do that?
Perfect.
3, 2, 1.
Tabuete!
Tabuete!